On Friday, 10th of July 2026, Andy Bickers passed away after a battle with cancer. I had the privilege of sitting down with Andy for this conversation in 2025. Although we had only just met in person, it quickly felt like two old Kiwi bros catching up for a coffee or a beer. We talked about rugby, growing up in New Zealand, moving across the Tasman, and of course, an extraordinary life in music. Andy's career took him from the New Zealand live music scene to stages around the world with Jimmy Barnes, Cold Chisel, Midnight Oil, Don Henley, the Eagles, and many, many others. But, you know, listening back to this conversation, it isn't only the incredible career that stands out. It's his humour, his warmth, his humility, his intelligence, and the genuine gratitude he carried for the life that music had given him. At one point, Andy described himself as the luckiest saxophone player I know. The many tributes shared since his passing make it clear that the musicians around him felt just as lucky to know him. I'm incredibly grateful that this conversation exists, and it's an honour to share it with you again. So thank you for the music, the stories and the laughs. Rest easy, my bro. All right, I think we're rolling. Andy Bickers, what's going on?
Oh, mate, cup of coffee and a hand with you, really?
That's it. So we just started with a bit of rugby banter. So you were born in Wellington, right? But then went down to Christchurch.
Yeah,
right. And then so you're giving me shit about my microphone having a red pop filter on it.
I wasn't giving you shit, mate.
You're Canes, Hurricanes through and through. You're just pretending to be a Crusader supporter, right?
Oh, look,
because you ended up back in Wellington. Come on, mate.
Yeah. Look, it's pretty easy to be. There was definitely that period there through the 90s when Supers started, and it was pretty easy to be a Canterbury fan. There's no doubt about it. And I think, I think nothing sort of drives me mental more than people who just support a winning side. So I'll just pull my head in on that one. And that's definitely not the case now. Of course. And. Look, the mighty Canes are looking fantastic, and there's been a big resurgence in both.
Yep, we actually lost a bunch of players like Artie Savea. He's gone to Moana Pacifica, I think, because Tana Umanga's coaching that team.
Oh man!
So Artie's gone there, and his brother is there.
There you go. I was kind of fascinated in that sort of resurgence in Waikato. That was amazing the last few years.
Yeah.
And Hurricanes have always been strong, of course. But to be honest, I've really got my teeth into the rugby league in the last few years.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, where we live, it's what you do. And there's nothing like a good comp like that, man. That's kicking ass. That's fantastic.
I love it. Back this weekend too, eh?
Oh, yeah. Well, in Las Vegas this weekend.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So who's your
don't ask me this because I always say I don't,
because we're in the eastern suburbs. So you're
I know, but
are you Souths or you Roosters or?
My son goes to a school where literally you could draw a line through it. Half the school's South and half the school's East.
Right.
In my last place we lived in, our neighbour was diehard Souths, and I've always sort of wanted to not be particularly aligned to a team simply because I'm a Kiwi.
Yep.
Really, but
it also allows you to jump on a bandwagon. Yeah.
Oh, look, Stevie, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that shallow. No, in real terms, it's allowed me to sort of enjoy the whole league. I don't know. I'm as happy watching Manly versus Parramatta as I am watching whoever else, but. One of my best mates reckons I scream louder when East play, which I'm yet to be convinced of that being the case. But just looking at how East went in the preseason, it's going to be a rough year, I think, for those boys.
Yeah,
a lot of big names. Jared Warrior's gone, and
Do you go and tipping comps or that kind of thing with rugby league? Because what I found with that few years, we were actually doing it was a fantasy rugby thing for the Super Rugby, and what I ended up doing, what I would find myself doing is actually, this is back when Dan Carter was playing Richie McCaw. So of course they're your high points guys, and you had them in your fantasy rugby team. So the Hurricanes would be playing Crusaders, and I'd be cheering on Dan Carter. Right?
Of course, yeah.
So
difficult.
What is going on?
Difficult spot to be in.
Yeah.
Look, man, I've got great memories of being a kid growing up in Christchurch and going to Lancaster Park when Christchurch had that sort of, that domination through the 80s, and you had Canterbury had that domination, sorry, not Christchurch, but you had Deans and all that crew, and there were just so many fantastic players came through in those days.
Yep.
The Ranfurly Shield, pre-Supers was the one to watch in New Zealand, and as you well know, man, it was a great period of rugby, and but yeah, definitely over here, and my partner's an AFL supporter, and I must admit the last few years I've been
jumping on that.
Oh yeah, just going.
So it's the Swans.
No, she's a Melbourne girl, so she's a Carlton supporter, and I've seen her, gone down to the old MCG there, and seen Carlton versus Collingwood, and
packed,
unbelievable vibe. Seriously, these people are in footy. It's great. Yeah. It's really good to see, because it's got that real tribal freaking let's go. It's great to sort of get in there, man. I love it. I really do. It's great.
Very cool. Yeah. So you've just recently come off the Chisel tour. Had you played, before we talk about that tour, had you previously played with Chisel on some of their recordings or tours? Or?
Yeah, look, no, I've played with Chisel. I've been lucky enough to be their touring saxophone player for about 20-something years now.
Right, so did you play on the Last Wave of Summer tour?
That's the one I didn't do.
Oh, you didn't, right? That's the one I saw.
Oh, okay. No, right. That was the one I didn't do. That was, another gent, and that was for whatever reason. That was, whatever they called me after that, and I started at the Ringside. Tour. So about 20.
It's like 2002,
2003 or something, I think. And have done all the stuff beyond that. No, I saw the Last Wave of Summer tour as well. I saw that at Sydney Entertainment Centre.
Yeah, me too. I was there.
Yeah.
I was in a Chisel cover band at the time.
Whoa,
actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that called?
It was called Circus Animals.
Fantastic.
Cold Chisel show. Yeah. And,
what sort of places were you playing?
Pubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All over Sydney, all over. Especially down Wollongong, we played Newcastle.
Yeah.
It was a real messy time. don't remember a hell of a lot of it. But
yeah. Did you play the songs in the original keys, though, man?
I played. I don't know if they were playing the songs in the original key. But I tried to do my best to play Steve Presswich.
Oh, yeah.
Every fill, every. Should I say iconic or that's probably not the right word, but it's the air drumming fill.
Oh yeah.
That's the air. When you're listening to them, you're going to air drum it.
Yeah,
you've got to play that.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
No, I just know a couple of those bands that I've seen around. Or excuse me, I'm just going to drink this coffee.
Don't tell them we're drinking coffee. We're on the...
bourbons.
Bourbons.
Vodkas and bourbons.
The tea's very nice.
Oh, cheers. The bands that I saw playing Chisel covers tended to bring the keys down.
Okay.
Because, Jim's kind of superhuman and, they... you can go out as hard as you want, but, there's a big difference between sort of... Like screaming them and not being able to talk for 2 weeks, and actually being able to sing them, and I think like I say, Jim's pretty superhuman in that regard, and you can hear them all of a sudden. You kind of go, that's I used to mix a lot of bands and covers bands in a couple of venues, and I mixed a couple of Cold Chisel covers bands for quite a while, and you'd always be like, oh man, that's it's a tone and a half down from where it should be, because you can hear it straight away. You just sort of go, oh, okay, we're going to do this in that key, right?
Nice try, mate.
Yeah. Oh, but like you say, they're kind of pretty imprinted, in people's psyche in the pubs in Australia, and they go really well, those tunes. Steve was something pretty special. My gosh, no one swung like that, and no one had drums that sounded like that, and he really played,
because he had the Sloshman drums. Didn't he?
That's right. But even when you go back through those old recordings, whatever he did to tune those drums, I don't reckon I've ever heard a snare drum sound like that on any recording before or since. He just had this this kind of touch and this thing and this sort of swing. I think he was really something else.
And Charlie Drayton, he's certainly got that.
Well, Charlie brings another thing altogether, right? You know, like he's wow.
I just recently saw a video pop up on, I think, Instagram or something like that, of Keith Richards playing on, I can't remember, was it the Arsenio show or something like that? Keith Richards, Steve Jordan playing drums and Charlie playing bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they swapped.
Well, they do this, yeah. Keith Richards had obviously the expensive winos was that kind of thing, but
right.
He had there's a really, really heavy thing of them on, I think it's SNL on Saturday Night Live.
Maybe that's what I'm...
And it's Neil Young.
Oh, right.
And they do Rockin' in the Free World.
Right.
And Charlie's playing bass.
Right.
And Steve's playing drums. And then I've forgotten what the second song is, but they swap.
Right.
It's a 3-piece. And it's just like, what? Actually, no, hang on. I think it's a 4-piece. There's another guitarist.
Okay.
And it's so outrageous.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of go, holy mother. I mean, Charlie's that guy, you know, you just, when you really kind of hang with them and talk and do, you know, as you do when you're away and whatever, you spend some real time with people. And, you know, I telling war stories, but I remember sitting in the back of a van and we'd done one of those runs out of a gig, and aircon's on and the dude's driving, you know, like a madman, and we've got the radio on and Charlie's eating dinner, and it's just him and me in the back, and that fantastic single of Candy comes on, you know, so it's like it's Iggy and Kate Pearson. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Charlie's eating, and he doesn't, I'm not going to say this because he's not being a braggart, he just says, you know, because we're kind of mates, he just kind of goes, oh, man, I'm on this. And I'm listening to it and I went, I think it doesn't sound like you, like that's, and he goes, no, I'm not on drum, that's Kenny Aronoff.
Yeah.
He says, I'm playing bass. And I went, kind of what? Like, how cool's that, man? Like, it's just those... You can name check those, you know, those B-52s things, and just those crazy things he's played on. You just kind of go, oh, dude, you know, like Simon and Garfunkel, you know, like major recording players, global mofos, you know, that he's played with. You just you know, a wonderfully musical human being,
right,
and a hell of a man to boot. You know,
you
would be hard pressed to find anyone like that again. Yeah. You know, and just wonderful to be with. Yeah.
I was going to ask this question a little bit later on, and because it popped in my head while I was in the car driving here. Now, as a saxophone player, when you're up on stage with a band, what is your sort of number one reference instrument on the stage? Are you listening to the drums? Are you listening to the bass? Are you led by the singer? Well, because I know you would have to be, of course you have to be watching the singer, because, you know, if you get a cue or something, solo, whatever. I think, what is your point of reference?
Well, I mean, if we're speaking specifically about Chisel,
not necessarily.
Well, there's
Chisel, oils, whatever.
There's things with, you know, like if I go running out and playing a bit of baritone, like Charlie's really mad on baritone.
Right.
So he gets the thing turned up like insanely in his wedges. Like, I don't use monitoring, and I'll go over to the drums and I can hear me through his fill.
Yeah, right.
You know, and he's just playing off me and I'm playing off him, because it's more of a rhythmic.
Because it's a lower frequency, right?
Yeah.
More resonance.
You're not playing like a solo instrument. You're playing more of something that's landing inside the band, somewhere between the bass and the guitar. You know, it's like it's with a reedy sound, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But definitely for the more like say with Chisel, there's a couple of kind of major solos to be delivered, which is, you know, My Baby or Saturday Night or those tunes, and it's all around Ian. You know, like it's all about that guitar tuning,
right?
And like he's an incredible musician, and so he'll bend stuff around to kind of mess with you a little bit, and you know, play different chord values and just all sorts of stuff that's just keeps you on your toes. So he's always kind of my reference, and it's a foolish man that turns his back on Jim Barnes. I'll tell you that right now. Do you know what I mean? No, I mean like, that's a silly thing to say. He's you keep your eye on Jim always, because he'll drive where that's heading. He'll drive. Particularly, there's a few kind of jammy boogie things the band does that, despite maybe what an audience's experience of it is, are actually kind of loose things that the band don't rehearse. That on any given night it can just go 180 degrees the other way, which I think is fantastic. A band that's playing in that environment is not playing just banging through the hits. They've actually, there's a little bit of standing on your toes about it, which is fantastic as a player, as a, sort of I guess essentially what my role is, other than the baritone thing, is more of a soloist. So, you keep an eye on Jim, make sure you're in tune, and just be ready to go at the end of the gig. I reckon. But definitely on stage, it's all about tuning. And I think listening to someone like a guitarist is the way to go, especially someone as strong as Ian. But that's the same with, say the Oils. Like those guitarists. Martin and Jimmy are just frickin' driving that thing like nobody's business. And so long as you're in tune. Strap down tight and just go. It's just like get through it. Yeah. You blow hard and just get the part played. And they're very different to Chisel, where it's not really a soloist thing. You're sort of replicating a horn section thing, and quite often you're lucky enough to have a horn section there. So that's very much
just the baritone. Is it so on when you're playing with the Oils? Is that just the one?
No, it's baritone and tenor.
Okay.
So quite often, like on the last run we did, I had an octaver on stage as well, so which was a real point of kind of it sort of sounded okay some nights. The band weren't happy other nights, and just just try to emulate something that sounded a bit like a horn section.
Right.
There was a tune particularly off the last record that we recorded that had a baritone part on it they wanted me to play, but generally it's just get up there and play Power and the Passion, frickin' Best of Both Worlds and those sort of songs, and just head down, ass up.
Right.
Play strong and play in tune, and don't be a pain in the ass. And that's the whole tour.
Yeah. Right.
Essentially.
Right. So just one other question in this line of questioning regarding your instruments, your saxophones. With the baritone being, big, hangs down one side.
Yeah.
Do you have issues with your
I do.
shoulders, your back?
I do now.
Oh, you do now, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I don't think the damage is done recently. I think it was done a long time ago. I think it had more to do with that.
Like in your, is it in your spine or your?
No, it's more to do with underneath your shoulder blades.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not. It's definitely not something that's debilitating. All the time. It's just something that's. It's like I think it'd be the same for a drummer, or with that kind of weight or that power that you got to go for.
But I was thinking about this today. I mean, that with drums, we have the ability to be able to sort of take the burden off one side of our body and put it on the other side, and we sit square. We haven't got one thing hanging off one side. We set up our drums. Yeah. So it's what's the word I'm looking for? What's that flash word when everything's
flash?
See,
flash is a good word too. I love that one.
Ergonomic.
Yeah.
Cymbals aren't too high. It's all sort
of. Stevie, that's flash bro.
Yeah.
No, it's. I mean, like I remember being told in the late '80s when I was studying. We had a like a physiotherapist come through the con or whatever, poked and prodded all of us and said, "Oh, you got to sort this out. Got to sort all this out." And that, I think it's fantastic that they did that. But I remember from the word go, they're like, "Oh, you're a basket case," And I remember because my left shoulder was pointing forward, and I stand, and that was just when I was playing tenor. I think I've always carried a lot of kind of, I don't know. I've just, I don't know a saxophone player, a trumpet player, or a bass player, or a drummer, or anyone my age that would literally be able to say, my whole career I've been awesome. It's just like you just kind of got it. And and I hope it's changed now, but I think the nature of carrying X amount of kilos around your neck and just blowing the crap out of it, you are going to find yourself with a certain amount of sort of muscular stresses and non-stresses and things making up for other things. Exactly what you said, where you can't just sort of, push it to one side and it'll all even out. It doesn't work like that. Like you're playing, you guys with your right hand are playing 4 things to one thing on your left hand, but your left hand's got to hit that flipping hard. And, excuse me. And, I did a run once with Jim Barnes's band, and we did a soul tour, and I played baritone the whole night, and it was just like from tune 1 to tune 20 flipping whatever it was by the end of it. I played baritone, and every night I came off and I just had to lie on the ground and sort of get a bit manipulated by the end of it, just because the horn and playing that hard is kind of really full on. And generally I go in now and I'll play 1 or 2 tunes and put it down and walk away or whatever. So that was a real lesson for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I remember coming off that tour like feeling like it's Quasimodo, right. What's going on? This isn't so good. I'm taking handfuls of painkillers and just flipping old Disprin or whatever, and you're just like going, oh man, this isn't so flash, and you see those dudes from years ago did 7 nights a week, oh well, I think he just used to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Now we've got a name for it, and it's called back pain.
Or OCS, old beep syndrome.
That's right.
We were talking before about. You asked me before we started recording. Do we have a swearing? No swearing.
Yeah.
And I said, go for it. But there is.
Oh, we're never dropping that.
Not dropping.
No. Gosh, no. No. What if your kids hear it all of a sudden?
That's right.
They'll start. Oh, you said that.
Yeah. That's right.
That's what you did, Dad.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole.
That's right.
Well, my son can strip paint off walls. Like he's 17 years old. He swears like a Marine.
Yeah, my 15-year-old girl. She's. I
don't know what to say.
She can let it rip. I'd say, well, I've never talked like that, but then again, probably I have. But.
Well, certainly not in front of my folks. My gosh, I would have just been head down the toilet and a mouthful of bloody.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Steel pads and a flipping bit of soap.
Because I used to, my dad. I never heard my dad swear in front of a woman at all, as long as I can remember. Yeah. Even today, he might have said shit, piss, or something like that. Yeah. But we used to work together. And when we were in a work environment...
Doing what?
I'm an electrical fitter by trade, electric motor rewinder, and so was he. Yeah. So we worked in the same sort of factory. So those times where he was not swearing at home, he's letting it rip in the workshop. And I'm going, geez, I've never heard my dad
give away
swear like that before.
Well, we were really... at home, I think we were really similar too. There's no kind of... my mum was just mortified. I used to come home and just go like a madman.
Where'd you get that from?
Yeah. I blame school, mate. That's where I got it from, Mum. It's like, nah, you're just being a lazy bastard. Stop doing it. I wish my son would pull his head in a bit with it, but the cat's out of the bag now. Sooner or later you'll probably realise that it's not. When his girlfriend just goes, nah, don't do that anymore. That's when I reckon it's going to change.
Yeah. All right, let's roll right back now to the early days, and we briefly mentioned that you were born in Wellington, and ended up down in Christchurch. So, about how old were you when you moved from Wellington to Christchurch?
We went to Christchurch when I was 6, and. My old man had got a job down there, so I did. I actually only ever lived in Christchurch for 10 years, so 6 to 16, Mm-hmm. So I left high school in year 11 because I got into I'd gone through an audition process for the I want to say the con, but the actual reality of it was Polytech, if you remember in those days.
Yeah, I did Polytech in New Zealand,
which essentially for any Australians listening was TAFE.
Yep.
But the only music degree in New Zealand in those days was at the Wellington Polytech in Mount Victoria there, and it had a wonderful, amazing group of tutors, Paul Dine and Roger Sellers, and some incredible players, Colin Hemmingson, and you could go up there for 3 years. And back in those days, of course, too, Stevie, it was the days of completely egalitarian education. So you weren't lumbered with a $40,000 education bill by the end of it. You got your degree and you moved on. The government was still fortified. It wasn't a private business in those days.
Right.
So I went down from 6 years old to 16, got into tech, bailed out of high school, and went up to Wellington and did 87, 88, 89 in Wellington.
Yep.
And did a 3-year degree on jazz saxophone, of all things. And Christchurch was great. I fell into a really cool kind of group of course, in those days, there was a lot of playing around all the cities. It was as a 16-year-old, I was playing, in real terms, probably more than I ever did. There was a couple of gigs in town that you could play 5-6 nights a week, and you'd do another one after that. It was great, man. It was really cool, and that's exactly where I wanted to go. So Mum and Dad said, you can be a musician, there's no dramas there, but because they were both university educated, they were very much of the mind that, you can do it, but we want you to get a tertiary degree, and that was exactly why they sort of said, off you go to, off to the con, which was great.
See, with us it was, you can become a musician, or, my brother wanted to be a professional motocross rider, and my younger brother wanted to build computers, or, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates type sort of setup.
Fantastic.
But Mum and Dad said, yep, sure, you can do that stuff, but you got to get a trade first.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was. I don't know if that was a little bit of a New Zealand thing.
I don't know, man.
Maybe not, but yeah.
I'm hearing myself conversationally talk to my son about that now.
Right. Is that maybe because that's what was told of us?
I think, there was that idea in those days, especially because people were sort of lifelong job people, which is very different to now, of course. I think there was that idea where people would you can get your ticket and off you go. Once you've got that, whether it's nursing or whatever.
World's your oyster.
That's right. And, my mum still says how, the great thing about you getting that degree is you can always teach. It's like, but it's sort of not why you get the degree. It's at least you can get away and do your thing.
Yeah,
and I certainly did that. So I got away in so much as got into Wellington. I was already in a band that was based in Wellington at the time, so I left school, toured all summer. And I keep saying this, and I don't mean to sound like an old broken record, Stevie, but in those days, you could. I was at a friend's house in Melbourne a couple of months ago, and they had a poster of that band that we were in on the wall from the summer of 86 into 87, and literally that band went out on the road late November and didn't come back to town till early February.
Right.
And it was one-nighters except for when the pubs were closed, like, Christmas Day or New Year's Day. And we just played and played and played. We played every possible, and you could do it. It was a career. And that band, which was a band called the Backdoor Blues Band, we would go out in summer, and then we'd go out in winter, and we'd have enough stuff in the middle that you just sort of worked and worked and worked. And they came over to Australia in 87. I stayed in Wellington because my dad wouldn't give me my passport to go because I was 16, which I was like, Dad, you And now I'm like, oh, man, you saved my ass. If I came over at 16, I'd be... all sorts of trouble now. And so I stayed in Wellington and studied and fell in with Chicago Smoke Shop, which was the band I was sort of all the way through my studying years. I played with them, and that was a great band in its own way. had some great players in it, and we did a lot of touring. And it was just right at that end where the pub touring was starting to tail off into 88, 89, but we got a couple of albums away, and I think they've left somewhat of a legacy, particularly for Darren Watson, who we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And Daz, there's no doubt about it. Some kind of mofo guitar player. He's something else, and to full credit to him, he's stayed the course. Like I reckon from what I've seen of him online, is exactly what he was when I met him in 88.
Right.
He's still, when guys are like really immersed in the jazz thing, he's completely immersed in the blues thing. And my God, he's a freaking great guitar player and a great singer.
Yeah. So I first met Darren back in probably might have been 1992, I think.
Yeah.
My high school band, we were in the Smoke Free Rock Quest, and that has been so big, massive. Yes, a lot of big acts have come out of that.
Yeah, totally. It's almost like you can't do something without having gone through that process.
Like
do you know what I mean?
Passage,
yeah, absolutely. It's like the Mickey Mouse Club. You know what I mean? Like, not to diminish it at all, because the Mickey Mouse Club is absolutely. I mean, the people that's throwing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that you finally find out. Oh, so, what year did you do the rock? The smoke-free rock quest?
Exactly
Everyone's
right.
done it.
Exactly right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So Darren was the Heats judge at Rongotai College.
Yeah, sweet. In Wellington, right?
So he was. I remember walking in there and going, "Oh, bros, that's the dude from Chicago Smoke Shop. Oh, cool, go up, meet him."
Oh man,
so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
But I had a moment. We went through this last tour. We went down through. The band. Oh man, we just played a bunch of shows in New Zealand. 3 shows in New Zealand, right? Queenstown. I mean, Queenstown's Queenstown. No dramas. Chisel played Taupo.
Yep.
I had childhood holidays in Taupo.
Yes.
And for a million years, I'd never expect. And we did like 18,000 heads. It was massive.
So where in Taupo?
Dude.
Topol.
Excuse my lack of ability to pronounce it. I'm not even going to try with Terreur because I've been over here way too long.
Yeah.
Hey man, so where the shops are, like on the waterfront there, and it's where the there's a McDonald's there and all that. And the shops come. So if you're looking at the lake and the shops are in front of you, where they come to an end, to the right, there's this kind of where all the boats are kept.
Yep.
And man, it's just there. There's this
right.
And I'm like going, like I said, I kind of grew up around there, and I'm kind of going, what the what's going on here? And we slaughtered the show. It was great. It was us, Icehouse, Bickers was on it.
Yeah, cool.
And Everclear.
Oh, really?
And man, they were. Bick was great. Icehouse were incredible as always. Everclear was smoking, man.
Right. The same 3 guys?
No.
Okay,
I mean, he's the guy now, and he's just got.
Right, okay.
He's got these. He's got another guitarist, another bass player, another drummer, and they're kind of like they're kind of. I don't want to sound dismissive because they're so fantastic, but they were like, just kind of LA rock guys,
I know what you mean.
Blacks and tats and the whole kind of kit and caboodle.
Yep.
But they smoked through those tunes, and you stand there going, oh man, I really know a lot of these songs, and they were really nice guys, so it was so we played Taupo, and then we played Whitianga.
Right.
And back to what we were initially talking about. I flew over, partner and I flew over with the crew, and we got on a bus and we drove down through, I want to call that the King Country, where you go down into, so you're sort of around... I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to make a mistake, and someone's going to email you and go, "That guy's a frickin' doofus."
He's an idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot. But that's because I've been away from New Zealand too long. But we did go through Tokoroa, and Smoke Shop used to play. That was like one of those gigs you do on the way up to Auckland,
right,
or the way up to Hastings or Napier or whatever through that area.
Yep.
And that pub we used to play is kind of, I remember pulling up there 1,000 times and playing that room, and it was like a Wednesday or Thursday night, and it was, I'm not going to say rough, but it was just steaming, dudes had dudes that get pissed and love the blues, and it was fantastic. We said these great shows. But you drive past it now, what, 20, 30, 40 years later almost, and it's all sort of boarded up and everything's closed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
I thought you were going to say the other, had gone the other way.
Well, I just saw
done up and
no. And I just saw a thing on the news the other night that I think one of the main mills in Tokoroa has just closed down, which is going to be like a real tough thing for those people, But you go through those small towns in New Zealand that are so flipping great. That in back in the late 80s, bands would go through. It was a real thing, It was great fun, and we used to have a ball, man. We'd have Wednesday night and flipping Taupo or Masterton, mate, or Levin. You'd play all those shows. Palmerston North on the way up. Man, it was. You just played and played and played and played. It's great.
Cold place to play in winter too.
Oh, dude, going south, man. Frickin' heck,
Yeah.
Oh man, Masterton for you, eh?
Yep.
You still got family there? Excuse me.
No. I lost my last remaining relative. He passed away last year, but still got my. That's right.
Excuse me.
All good. But my best man is still there.
Oh, cool.
My best mate. Yeah, so he's still there. His family's still there.
So you said you've popped over a couple of times since.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. So we won't get back there this year, but hopefully back there again next year.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, man, great part of the world.
Oh, it's always good to get back.
Oh, dude. You
ground myself. And,
you just reconnect. Eh?
Yeah,
that's fantastic. I'm the same. I was back in New Zealand, I think last week, actually.
Yeah.
We did, the band did a couple.
Caught up with a mate of ours, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Kerry, how are you, bud?
Hey, man, how are you, bro? Yes. Yeah, no, Kerry and I had a quite unexpected meeting.
Right.
At the...
Kerry Buchanan we're talking about.
Yeah.
You would have heard Kerry on the show. He's been on the podcast. We did a one-on-one interview together, and he was also part of the Jeff Piccaro Spotlight episode that we did.
Of course.
Which was awesome.
Of course. Yep. There would be a few people in this world that would be, more knowledgeable about Jeff Piccaro than the great Kerry Buchanan. We bumped into each other. Well, not bumped into each other. We had a few drinks on last week in Christchurch, which was fantastic. I'd sit down with him. I miss him a lot. Having him around towns, having him not around town is a big hole.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually learned off saxophone off his old man.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So his dad was my teacher through high school.
Right.
And for anyone in Christchurch who knows, of course, that's the great Stu Buchanan. Stu was a very, very influential motivator and inspiration for a lot of young players that came out of Christchurch through a certain period. And both his sons went on to having fantastic, lauded careers, and are both terrific drummers, family, those guys. Kerry, for sure.
So Kerry asked me to ask you.
No, please don't. I know what you're going to say.
No? I'm going to say it. I have to say it. Okay. He told me to. So he said there's a story, rehearsals for Marsha Hines at Selena's. Do you want to dive into that? Touch it or nah?
Well, it was the... Oh, okay. I think I know where he's... Well, think about it. I know exactly where he's coming from. Selena's. So we'd gone into the Marsha Hines experience for us was... And when I say us, I'm talking about the horn section I played with for years, and that was a great trumpet player called Stu Kerwin and a great trombone player called Anthony Cable. And we just, for a period there, completely unexpectedly, we just played sort of a lot of stuff together. And one of those things was Marsha's band. And it was a great band. Kerry was on drums, Victor Rounds, the great John Bettison. For the most part, initially it was Jay Stewart, and then after him was sadly, sorely missed Paul Gray on piano. I think it's it, Marsha out front, obviously. And, Yeah, we got pulled into her band to do a bunch of shows. It was to be honest, Stevie, it was a fantastic experience because we'd been pulled into her band to do a bunch of shows around the Olympics. And they opened this club at the old Chisel townhouse in King's Cross I think it was called the Press Club or something. And her manager, Pete Ricks, had put I think a package together for all the press involved around. Now, please someone correct me if I'm completely wrong. My memory might be shot to bits. But and every night we'd do this gig, So it was Marsh. This band would back Marsha, I think Tanya Doko from Bachelor Girls involved, and Wendy Matthews. And the band was cooking. Everyone was happy and it was rocking. It was a lot of fun. And then we just sort of, as is always the best way, we sort of organically moved into her band. She hadn't had horns, and then there were horns, And, why I'm telling you the whole story is because it gets to this Selena's story. And we ended up in there for like 6 or 7 years, totally, went to China, travelled the country relentlessly, every weekend, because Marshall at that time had a resurgence in interest around her Australian Idol, because you remember what Australian Idol was like in the early 2000s. That was huge. And she was, and still does, fantastic stuff. And she was always working every weekend, doing a lot of corporate stuff. So we were on all those things. We went, like I said, we went to China. I think we went to Hong Kong with her. We went to New Zealand with her. We had all these fantastic experiences. And then it came to this point, and this is frickin' Kerry telling us, yeah. So we got to these, she just wanted to change things up, essentially. And, she had, as people do, it's like anything, it's generational. It moves through players, it moves through crew, it moves through management, it does all these things change. And we did this sort of bunch of rehearsals at Selena's, and she had basically asked us to start putting together some dance moves. Yeah, and we weren't really a dance moves kind of bunch of guys. And up to that point we hadn't had to do that, so it was really not kind of in my scope of what I felt like I wanted to do. And that was the end of us.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so
like on the spot type.
No, not at all. Not at all. It just was the start of an end process.
Okay.
Where I think, and this, please don't get me wrong, there's absolutely no bad blood. There's nothing wrong about it.
It doesn't sound like one of those stories at all.
No,
but I get what you're saying. I'm just picturing you dancing.
Please don't. Could you do me a favour?
Because we talked earlier about what the baritone sort of done to your body and stuff. I mean, this could have been a great way to stay limber,
Look, you're right, but other than perhaps some kind of version of a dodgy box step, which was Anthony's favourite step, that was about all we had going on.
Yeah, right.
And all jokes aside, you've got to, inside that knowledge is that there are people that will go and do that, and they're absolute mofo players, and that's it just had come to an end, essentially, and moved it. Man, I watched, speaking of horn sections dancing, I watched, now, we've got a mutual friend in Serge, guitarist Serge. Now, I watched that thing of them and, doing that fire benefit thing. Man, how good does Earth, Wind and Fire sound? And look, I was talking to my partner. It's like, man, it just doesn't look forced. It doesn't feel bad. The music lends itself to that. And those guys, those African American cats who play horns like that in that band, while our mate Serge is out front, knocking it out. You're kind of going, this is happening, man. It's not a. Whereas if I'm in the middle there, hey guys, let's let's have a wee dance here, it's that's right. The Kiwi kind of the white kind of rock thug, it's just not going to be. So that so thank you, Kerry. I really appreciate you having brought up that story. That's fantastic. that's that story.
Yeah, so I mean, some other acts, bands that do that kind of band choreography. I mean, you look at like Justin Timberlake.
Oh man, yeah.
And his band, and sort of more modern to that, Bruno Mars.
Oh man,
what he does with his band is phenomenal.
I know.
So good to watch.
Oh mate, that's the real deal. There's a thing online of that. I've shown it to everybody I know. There's a thing online on Bruno Mars's band, which he keeps changing his band, but he had that band that was called the. Yeah.
Yep, and his brother was playing drums.
That's right.
Band.
Who was a mofo?
He was.
Is a mofo.
Yep.
And he had that horn section, right? And now all those guys are all, I think there's a thing there's a grade of dancing you can get to. Like they've all got this, they're Americans. And there's this incredible, the way those guys do stuff is so freaking brilliant, Yep. And there's a thing of that band mid-tour, and they're playing a small room in Paris, and they do like they're in the middle of a stadium tour, and they're doing this little room just as hey, Paris, let's rock, And they do that thing, Locked Out of Heaven.
Yep.
And the room's just full of these, just Parisian kids, and these guys come out, and they are having more fun than anybody in the room. And they're dancing their asses through it, and the song's smoking, and the band's smoking, and Bruno Mars is singing like a mofo, and the whole thing's out of control. And the horn playing's absolutely spot on. And you just look at it and you go, man, that's the shit. That's for that style of music, that's
it.
Top shelf. Absolutely top shelf. And anything beyond that's just a bit of a...
Was it the Hooligans?
The Hooligans. Good,
am I right?
Yeah, good memory. That's it. That was that band, that touring band.
Hooligans.
Yeah, with the horn section, and those horn players are freaking hacking.
Yep.
There's another great thing of them online doing their rehearsals for Grammys or something, and they do that Prince thing.
Yep.
Freaking heck, you got to be on for that stuff, man. It's not just about the playing.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's But anyway, that's dancing and music.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't ask: how did it get to saxophone? And was it always saxophone?
Always, yeah.
Always, right.
Totally.
And so, did you see someone play, or did you hear someone?
Yeah, I did actually. That's
moment?
exactly what it was. It was a moment. My mum tells a story. My brother's a trumpet player,
okay.
Fantastic trumpet player in Christchurch, and he's older than me, so he was going through the band system before me, and I saw him go and do a gig, and I was just a little kid. I was real little actually. I was about maybe 9 or something, and he walks out on stage, and with this kind of school big band, this combined school big band in Christchurch, and this girl who I know now, who got to know later, of course, she walks out with a baritone saxophone, and Mum reckons I've just stood up and just literally just gone, that's it. It was just like a bolt from the blue.
Was it because of how it looked?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it was like, that's me. I want to do it. Well, my brother was already playing trumpet,
right.
But also in those days, there's that term. Excuse me, I've done it again. But everywhere you looked, there was saxophone players on every band and every,
right.
So it was really tangible to go, there's obviously a career here, or bands had horn sections, and there was bands everywhere, and it didn't seem like such a crazy idea to want to be a live saxophone player, which now is probably a bit of a, bit more of a niche thing. And back in those days, of course, it was just everybody you turned on Ready to Roll and all those shows, and you're just like going, oh man, this madness, and Spandau Ballet and flipping
Wham.
Specials and Wham, and everyone had a horn section, and it was just like, yeah, man, like you could really see a pathway. And I was really drawn to the to bands, to rock bands, So I was just like, oh, there's now of course it's a really different story, but that was absolutely it. It's the same story Mum tells about me seeing Star Wars in 1977, where she reckons the moment the start, right at the start of Star Wars, where the words come up. I stood up at 7 years old and held the back of the chair and didn't sit down until the movie finished.
Really? Wow. so you're a Star Wars fan?
No, not massively so,
okay,
but apparently
right.
that's my mum's story.
Right, we're done. I'm out of here.
Saxophones and Star Wars.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, cheers, mate. See ya. But exactly the same story twice. It's either saxophones or Star Wars, apparently. But, 7 years old, what do you do?
Just going back to the saxophones again.
You don't want to go back to
no,
Star Wars?
I don't think we'll get too
out.
far. Yeah. I'm just curious about this stuff. Drums. You can have vintage drums. You can have vintage guitars, vintage Fenders, and all that sort of stuff, and they have their thing. I don't sort of understand that. I don't know if there is that for saxophone.
Yeah.
So sort of fill me in on, are there sort of vintage saxophone,
totally.
that have a thing like a vintage lud,
Yeah.
Do you sort of own instruments like that, or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think there's that golden period, like in the 50s and 60s, where, Fender Strats with this, Ludwig drum kits with this, Wurlitzers came out looking like this and sounding like this. P-basses came out and looked and sounded like this. Yep. And for whatever reason, Selma Paris, which is a French saxophone company, made what commonly, everyone sort of refers to the Mark VI, which is, mine's a 1965 Selma Paris Mark VI, which are the total.
That's the one.
Considered to be, but also a lot of people play variants of course, SNLs, and a lot of people are playing newer horns now.
Right.
But definitely when I was growing up, every time you saw a picture of Branford Marsalis or John Coltrane or Michael Brecker or Joe Henderson or Sonny Rollins, they were all playing Selma Mark VIs. Right. So as a kid, you're just like going, well, there's only one horn, really,
Okay, gotcha.
But and that again, that's that kind of golden period. Mine's later in the piece. It's 121,000 stamped, and it was 1965. Whereas I know horns. I think the sixes seriously might have started in the early 50s or what. I don't 100% know, but I know they went through the early 70s. And that's my main horn is a tenor, and that's a 1965 Mark VI. I had an alto like that, but it was kind of too idiosyncratic, so I bought a more modern horn, and my baritone's a modern horn as well. But those like David Sanborn, you always see him playing a Mark VI, or God, there's just so many of those great players.
I'm going to be looking out for Mark VIs now. I'm going to go home and going to Google them.
I'll send you some photos.
I'm really interested. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, I know. It really was. There was this one photo that Selma had in the 80s in their advertising of John Coltrane. I had it on my wall as a kid. I was always just like, oh my gosh, And he played. I mean, mind you, no one sounded like John Coltrane.
Yeah, right. Right.
But then again, that's all kind of maybe hokum too, because Charlie Parker, I don't think really ever played the same horn. A lot. He kept pawning them, I understand, and then didn't stop him playing like he did. My gosh,
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
So the alto, the tenor, and the baritone. If you're having to play those three instruments in one night, how quickly and what sort of adjustments do you have to make between
Not much.
the three instruments?
Not much.
So is it, pardon my ignorance, is the sort of the finger...
It's exactly the same.
Exactly the same, right,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly the same.
Yep.
And, other than probably weights, there's not much.
Right.
You got to make sure you set up on the right mouthpieces and reeds. But essentially, I always, much more than that, I always think of like the guys in the pits, playing in show bands that are, woodwind guys who are, here's a bassoon, here's a flute, here's a cor anglais, here's two saxophones and a bass clarinet. Get your head around that in a night,
Yeah, right.
Whereas saxophones are exactly the same.
Okay.
And if you, I guess like anything, if you practice on them, you're all over it. I'm more than happy to go from instrument to instrument without it.
Right.
They are inherently slightly different, so far as how much air you want to push through them to get the sound you want or whatever. But no, it's not a stretch if you've done a bit of work on them.
Okay,
I guess.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, and I suppose I mean, they've got their different frequency ranges, so that would be you'd be having to say if you're from an improvisational side of things.
Yeah,
you've got a keyboard player over there, you've got a 5-string bass player over there, you've got a there's a lot of frequency being taken up.
Oh, totally
already.
Yeah.
So if you're sort of swapping between those different saxophones, finding the right sort of lines to fit would be a challenge. Yes.
Yeah, look, mate. I'd like to. I'd like to pretend I'm much more creative than I actually am. But at the end of the day, the way that my playing and the jobs I've done of the last bulk of my playing has just basically been playing other people's stuff. It's all there in front of me.
Right. Oh, okay,
I don't really need to be thinking too much about that. It's either playing solos that are already been played on certain instruments, or playing horn section parts that are
already written.
Yep. I mean, it's just actually the way it is. It's been a long time since I found myself in a situation where I have to write or create anything on the spot.
Okay.
Even the original stuff that we've recorded, 9 times out of 10, I can put a little bit into it, but it's already there. The last couple of records that I've done, the guy's standing there with a version of a horn part that he wants broken down into certain places, and I can say, well, that's a great idea. That's not the best idea. Let's do this. But essentially, it's all kind of done for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for that. That's good. Okay, so we've got to. You're in Smoke Shop. You left Smoke Shop, and you joined Netherworld Dancing Toys.
Yeah. Our time at Smoke Shop had come to an end. Again, to say our time, I was playing with a trumpet player a lot at the time, and we just felt like they'd finished with us and we'd finished with them, and it was just the right time to move on. And quite openly went into the abyss of no work, whatever. And the Toys had decided that they were looking for a new section for a bit, and we went out and did what became the kind of the cycle around their last album, which is a flippin' great record. For all money, it's a killer album. It's called Everything's All Right. It was Post Painted Years, which was that album with For Today that we talked about earlier. And it was great. It was so much fun. It was such a great rock and roll band. And the first band that I was ever playing with that played all originals, terrific people, terrific management, really, really great relationships, and really people that really gave a shit about each other. And not that I'm saying other people didn't, I just mean to say it was just one of those really fantastic situations. And it was the first time I dipped my toe into the idea that, sure, I'm a session player, but you actually, you're playing in a band that's playing all original and all fantastic original music.
Yep.
We'd do Otago University balls that were just unhinged. People were so struck on the band, and of course they had that big single, and it was a lot of fun. And we played all those rooms down the south, Queenstown and Wanaka, and all those fantastic kind of Otago University students on holiday rooms, and went through the pubs, went up to Glue Pot, went through all those sort of rooms that were. The Toys were something very, very special, a great rock and roll band, and for me a real shot in the arm. In fact, a couple of tours ago I caught up with both Malcolm and Nick, the lead singers. Malcolm, of course, has very sadly passed since then, but it was just wonderful to see them both, and they were a couple of great human beings, and then just basically got on a plane and flew over here after that. I could not speak more highly of that band. It was something else. Their shows were fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what brought you here? What brought you to Australia, and where'd you land? Melbourne,
yeah. So in my last year of the con, I was living. Have you ever come how you've talked to Lance, Phillip, and did you ever come across a drummer out of Wellington called Evan Jenkins? Do you know Ev?
I don't know him personally. I know the name.
So Ev and I were living in a flat together in Wellington with another guy, a saxophone player, up in Mount Victoria there. Evan lives in London now, plays with a couple of, I've been over there a couple of times and always catch up with him. He plays with a fantastic artist called Nadine Shah, and he plays with the Neil Cowley Trio, great drummer. And we were living together in Wellington, in Mount Victoria, and his parents had left town and they'd moved to Perth. And in 1989, Perth seemed like flipping Mars, But they were sending us video cassettes home of Australian MTV. Mm. And Evan and I just totally fell in love with Australian rock and roll. Like I'd grown up healthy diet of New Zealand rock and roll, loved it very much, and still do love all those bands that I'd grown up around. But, anyway, long story short, Stevie, sorry, one of the things they sent us was, have you ever seen the Australian Made tour?
I have, yeah.
They sent us the whole video of that. And from
right.
the moment that went on, when Excess are playing that thing, Melting in the Sun, and, all the Jan's road cases are being pushed up and they're putting the conduit pipe in and the whole stage is going up. Evan and I would sit there like, oh, man.
We want that.
Australia. Oh, I've got to go to Australia. And, so on that tour was, Excess, Triffids, On Talking, Divinals, Jim Barnes, not Mental, excuse me, what were they called? Mental as Anything, but they weren't on the video, and the Models, And inside those bands or these players, you kind of, I know who that is. Oh, that's that guy from, And we just basically wore that tape out, just was so infatuated with it. And we were like, right, Australia, as soon as we finish this degree, we're out of here, And that was it. That was the motivation to come over. So Evan went over to Perth to do Whopper, and I went to Melbourne to work on a Maori home removal gang. That was a job that I had briefly.
Right.
And just sort of knock around Melbourne in the early 90s, and for only probably about a year and a half or so. And I was lucky enough to get a call up to go on a cruise ship. At the time I was broke as broke could be, And through a couple of New Zealand contacts, I ended up on the Fairstar, working out of Sydney. I joined the Fairstar in late 91, 92 or something, and then worked on that for 18 months, and that was a fantastic experience for all money. Literally just 7 nights a week, 2 shows a night, fantastic musicians. 21 years old, I've got a saxophone and sort of a half-full suitcase.
Right.
And it was just about the joy, and next thing you're in Fiji, Japan, I just could not have had more fun with it, It was fantastic, and saved up enough money to move to Sydney as a soft landing, a lot of guys got off those boats with not much more than a hangover.
Right.
I was kind of, I had a great time, but at the same time I sort of, saved a lot of money. So when I moved here, it was a bit of a soft landing. It was fantastic, and there was I knew enough people around here by that stage that I could just sort of start working.
I was going to say, did you have your hands in some things?
Well, you sort of boat? You backed all these people on the boat, and you sort of get to know them, and they know so and so and so and so knows such and such, and flipping, give us a call when you're in town, And I wrote all the names down and took all the numbers and got off the boat and called everybody, and just started playing. I was, because I wasn't under a lot of pressure to work, so I had a bit of money in the bank, and things, without stating the flipping obvious, we were a lot cheaper in Sydney in those days. And it's great, man. It was a cool, great experience, and that was, I think we came to Sydney in 90. I think it must have been 94 or something like that, 93, 94. And
might have seen you at the airport.
Probably.
That's when we
came.
came.
Bumped into you, man.
Yeah. I was the guy. So I don't know if I told this story of the day that we landed in Australia, but it was
who'd you come over with?
My mum, dad, and my little brother.
Fantastic.
So we came with just the shirts on our back and the suitcases, and we got to. Well, I mean, it was freezing. It was freezing in Masterton. It was freezing in Wellington. So we had. I don't know if you remember in New Zealand the bush jackets.
Yeah, of course.
It's either blue, swan jacket, like blue or black or red or black. And so
we were just talking about those the other day. I love those things. Yeah.
So those
favourite one I ever had as a kid.
Yeah, jeans. You had your woolen socks on, and it was cold, man, when we left.
But
so we get to Wellington Airport. We're over the limit of baggage, so we play the old. We're leaving, and this is all we have, and we don't have any money.
Mum and Dad bailed with you.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yep. So anyway, get to Sydney Airport, and those doors open at Sydney Airport. Fucking 42 degrees.
Oh, bro.
Fucking whack.
Same thing happened to me in Melbourne.
I've been punched in the fucking face.
Oh, no.
Seriously.
Same thing happened to me in Melbourne. We flew
to turn around and go home.
Same thing. We flew out of, I think the band flew out of Wellington.
Yep.
Yeah, we went to Tullamarine, man. Those doors opened. And we opened, we flew into one of the wildest, at the time, one of the wildest Melbourne summers. I remember we had a place in Caulfield, the bass player and his wife, who I was living with, and I had the room out the back, like this lean-to. It was like it was a like a windowed in veranda.
Yep.
And and I'm in there, man, and all I remember at night is just all that, and it's 40 degrees.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, what have I done? This is just. It was cool, but you gotta go. Fuck, man, what am I doing?
Yeah, because the four of us were living in a one-bedroom apartment in Maryland.
Yeah, wow.
For the first 3 months, no air conditioning, and this that was hard, man.
Oh man,
it was so hot.
Yeah. You just don't know what to expect, right?
You just no clue.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of heat.
Yeah.
New Zealand heat to Australian heat. Like in New Zealand, it's like the sun is hot and it'll burn you, but you go stand under a tree and cool down, right?
Yeah.
Or just get some relief.
Yeah.
But here, it's like the hairdryer.
Yeah.
It's just the air.
It's just thick. The whole thing is just like, oh my Lord.
Yep.
Yeah. No, same, mate. I just walked straight into it. Straight out of the airport and straight into that. Fucking hell. Into Melbourne, you're just like going, all right, now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And we came over and the band just sort of had a slug at it and then just, as you do, learn a whole lot of lessons real fast.
Right.
And go your own way, essentially.
Yeah, right.
Because very few, just take an ice to Eskimos, mate, at the end of the day. The Melbourne rock scene in those days was so, as I'm sure it is, God, I've got to stop saying in those days, excuse me. That is so lame. Like, it's just...
Well, you're old, man. You're like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I'm 28 now.
28 now, yeah.
It was just, I remember once we were just doing shit show after shit show after shit show. So I came over with a version of Backdoor Blues Band, but it was a good band. Like, it had, did you ever know Eddie Olsen, the drummer from Auckland?
No.
He was in Dance Exponents. And,
no.
Great bass player, Andy McIver, guitarist from New Zealand called Brian Harley, and a singer, Ted Clark. And, we were just kind of giving it some, like we were just a five-piece that would just, turn up and play Elvis Costello and just give it a... But, it's just a fucking covers band at the end of the day. And we were like, I always remember, we'd done all these gigs and we played everywhere, man. We played fucking, Wonthaggi and Aubrey Wodonga and fucking all these joints. And I remember once we got this gig in central Melbourne finally, and that every time I walk into Paran now, because my girlfriend's house is up in Richmond, we spend a lot of time in Melbourne, and every time I walk into Paran, I still remember it. And down, do you know the Station Hotel down in Paran there? And
I've heard of it.
Greville Street, So it's I can't even tell the story. It's so fucking naive now. But I remember we're driving to the gig and we're like, oh man, like we're on this bill, and we're like, fuck, and you're getting down Greville Street and the pub's pumping, there's cars everywhere, and it's like, oh, thank Christ! After all of this, there's a gig, we're going to fucking brain, maybe it's full of Kiwis or something, we're going to brain the joint, you know, it's going to be great. And we walk in, and I remember Andy and I, the bass player, and I standing at the side of stage, and what we were watching, what it was we were booked in there by, you know, that booking arm, Mushroom, but what they had is everyone playing that room, they were trying to kind of, well, not trying to, they were getting stage time and getting a vibe around the Bad Loves. And so everyone who played there was supported by the early Bad Loves.
Right.
The band that went on to make that wonderful album, Get On Board, you know, but it's the original one with Chris Bone and Irish and fucking Tony Featherston and
Jack Housen. Yeah.
Jack Housen.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like just gobsmackingly good, you know. And Andy and I have walked in the pub, and I remember opening the door, and we've just both gone, oh, fuck. You know, what are we going to do? So we go upstairs and get ready for the gig, and by the time we've come down, they've finished, the joint's empty.
Yeah.
And we're just like, yeah, okay, listen well learned.
Fair call.
You know, there we go.
Well played.
Yeah. I saw them a number of times after that, and my crikey, that was a great band. My gosh, they were something else, you know.
So how does that move on to the next thing?
On to, for me, we were in Sydney. I suppose the next sort of thing for me would have been Jim Barnes's band.
Right.
Which we just got a call out of the blue. There's a few things led up to it.
Sorry, and around what sort of album?
This is kind of 97, and Jimmy had decided to go out and do a secondary run at the Soul Deep thing. He'd obviously just wanted to do a different sort of style of tour, and it'd be far better for me to say what he's thinking. I have no idea, but he had was looking for a new bunch of horn players, and the trumpet player that I was playing with had done a couple of things with Mark Lizotte, and when Jim was looking, Mark had said, "Oh, I saw this great trumpet player," and Stu the trumpet player, and I were knocking around in a covers band that was working a lot at the time, like it just were playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and Jim's MD, the great Michael Hegarty, you know Michael, yeah. He's so he came and checked us out and said, "Oh, these guys are okay, you know, maybe we'll take him out." And it was the same tour that Clayton Doley first got involved with Jim's band.
Yep.
And we did a run of shows over summer that were like, I think he called it like Soul Deep 2 or something, and you know, all horn, you know, like all the old soul things, and then it kind of moved into the band stayed on the road, and somehow Stu and I just sort of morphed into the band again, and we sort of stayed on and off with him for a lot of years, for a few years after that, and did lots of great shows, you know, really good fun, and at that stage his band was terrific, you know, not at that stage, it still is, but man, he had Yak Sherritt from the Injectors on drums. Michael was playing bass. Dave Leslie was playing guitar. And he'd have a floating second guitar player that might have been, you know, Mick Cox or Mally Stick or, you know, any of these kind of dudes that would come through that were just mofos, you know. Great PV section, Clay, you know, and the horns. It was great fun, you know. It was a really good fun band. It was a band that just used to work, as Jim still does, you know. And we were there for years, and then that just became, you know, Chisel reunited, and they did a run, and then he asked me to audition for the band, and that was when Chisel started, and that was 2002 or something, you know. So that was that.
So you had to audition. You'd already.
Well, yeah, that was a funny one
for the other guys, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I guess so. You know, I was expecting to stand there with a lineup of 25 sax players.
Right,
you know,
right.
But I was the only guy there. You know, which was a real blessing. You know, like I remember he rang me up and he's like, "Oh, mate, you know, I want you to come and have a blow and sort of have an audition for the band." You know, and I'm like, "Oh," I remember saying to him, you know, "Oh, mate, aren't I already playing with the band?" He goes, "Oh." He goes, "No, man, Cold Chisel." And I'm like, I remember putting the phone down. It was that moment of like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah. This, you know, imagine landing this band, boy. This would be great fun, you know. So learn everything I could learn, and they still threw something at me that was a real curveball.
Right.
Nothing like, man, they're not like the Oils. They can throw curveballs, but
Right.
they still threw a kind of a minor blues thing with a weird turnaround on me on the audition. But we just had a vibe, and it was a good blow. I went up to Vaucluse. Jim and Jane were living in this beautiful house up there in those days, and everyone's playing sort of acoustically, and we just sat down and had a blow and by the end of it was, we'll get the management to call you, and frickin' no dramas, man. I was totally blessed to be in the pot for that, Yeah, it was cool. And it's been an ongoing thing. I mean, like, it just came off the road about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. So I interviewed Ben Rogers.
Oh, Ben, yeah, of course.
A while back, a few years ago, and we met up at the studio.
Down at Jim's place?
Jim's place, yeah.
Yeah, down in Botany.
Ben just gave me an address. He didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get there, big doors, press the buzzer. And Ben came out. So I come through and I walked in, and then, Jim and Jane were standing in the kitchen, and
cool.
I went off. Hello. Oh, fuck, this is their studio. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, how cool is it?
So then anyway, we're walking through this like that, I guess the live room this week, because Ben and I ended up doing the interview in the control room.
Yeah, cool.
So walking through the live room, and some guitars on the ground and some drums set up there and a nice bass, and that's cool gear. What's going on here? Anyway, chatting away to Ben, and Chisel were in there recording some demos.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, so I was
there
like,
you go.
Cool. So when I was
seriously?
When I was walking out, I was
Right.
like, so that's Mossy's guitar and that's Phil's bass and
Yeah.
Charlie's drums, and it was like, it was cool, man. It was awesome,
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a great facility. Like, it's.
It is.
I mean, gosh, who's got a studio like that in their house?
Yeah.
Not me, and
No.
most probably not you either.
No.
No, he's. That's been a fantastic experience, and remains to be that way.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, and Ben's fantastic.
He is, yeah.
Ben and Mahaley, very, very cool people.
So the Oils, how did you get on the Midnight Oil train?
That goes way back. That goes into the 90s. That's like, I'm on a couple of their albums, and just as a session horn section,
Right.
But we just sort of, again, struck up a pretty cool vibe, and particularly with Jim and Rob, they were just kind of a couple of people that we sort of, and again, I say we, I mean myself and Stuart and Anthony, who was the trombone and trumpet player that I was playing with a lot. I suspect the first thing we ever did with them was around the Olympics, when we might have done a recording with, and we did do, but I don't know if this was the first thing, but we did a recording with Rob's other band called the Ghost Riders for the Olympics. And remember, there was all those kind of projects going on around then, and excuse me, and it just sort of worked, and it was cool, and Rob's such a great vibe, and everyone was like great. And then there was a record they wanted to do called The Real Thing, and they were back in the old festival studios, like way back then, and got a great session away with them then, and I think that's that would be 2000, and we did a bit of TV stuff and some live stuff with them, and then we sort of, they obviously got to a point where they decided to pull up stumps there, but we, there was nothing but a great vibe with them. It was always really cool. If you'd ever bump into anybody, it was always really cool. And then when the band did that thing at the tsunami benefit at Sydney Cricket Ground, we did that with them, which was cool, because that was when we sort of met Silverchair, and that went off in another direction with those guys as well, which was fabulous. And then a fantastic experience with those guys. And then we did there was a Melbourne one a year or two later, which was around the fires that had happened up in the Victoria, up in the Melbourne high country there. And so that was cool. And then when they reconvened, and around those one-off gigs, there's always, there's a couple of warm-up shows here, or there's this, that, or the next thing. And, we'd done all those. I mean, we did a gig with them, a warm-up for that SCG gig at Manly Leagues. I mean, honestly, Stevie, this is one of those bands that I literally went from the punter at Selena's to standing on stage with them. And it's happened to a couple of times. Yeah. Which is just an absolute stone-cold blessing. There's no other ways. And I had nights in front of that band that just it blew my frickin' mind. As a punter. I mean, honestly, if anyone said, what's the best gig you've ever seen in your life? I saw Midnight Oil at Selena's one time that just, supported by a great band from Melbourne called Horsehead, who just blew my mind too. And the Oils that night were just fucking a force to be reckoned with, know. So that was in itself from fanage to saxophage, is a total blessing. And so when they did the first big, reunion global run, it was just great again to know that they were together. And then they asked me to go out and do a bunch of shows, like a European thing with them after that. Obviously, Bones was still with us then, and I did. I was lucky enough to record both Makarata and Resist, and there was a whole rollout program probably sent out around that, which of course, as always, COVID sort of fucked everything up for everybody, and everyone just goes into this holding pattern, and then of course, sadly, Bones passed, and. Adam got involved, and which was, as we spoke about earlier, and then we did the Makarata run around Australia, which was great. We played WOMAD and all these kind of cool fucking places with these, just in Moore and all these with just great artists. They were really different to normal Oil shows. They were really fantastic shows.
What do you mean different? In what way?
Well, because the band had guests on stage. Right. And it's not. Okay. It wasn't really a guests on stage kind of band. It's not a band you get up and jam with, generally.
Gotcha.
I mean, they've always had people jump up. But, they actually had things, they had that Tasman got up and he was doing, rapping in Beds of Burning, which, you kind of go, what? And then it works beautifully, just fantastically. And, Leah Flanagan was with us and with the band. Excuse me, not us, I'm part of that band, just with the band. And, there were just these terrific artists just kept getting up. Dan Sultan and, So it felt like the band was sort of presenting us a whole lot of other artists that were, obviously pertinent to that record. And then, bang, COVID 2 happens. And then finally got a chance to release that record Resist, which then the band toured globally, and then that was that. And that was the better part of a year, I think, in so much as by the time we went from rehearsals to the final gig at the Horden, I think it was probably maybe 9 or 10 months or something, perhaps. But such an incredible experience. I've seen gigs and done gigs with them that were just white hot. Really were a great rock and roll band, and a real, that period where in Australia you could see them and Cold Chisel and Hunters and the Gurus and how many others. There was a real golden patch there for songwriters and bands that, I don't think we'll ever see it again, to be quite honest. I don't think, socio-economically we're never going to be in the same sort of situation. And I think also those just seems to be like the band thing's disappearing, What do you reckon,
I'm not sort of out there enough in bandland, clubland, publand to kind of compare it to what it used to be. I get my reference from the people that I talk to. And that seems to be the common sort of thing. But as Declan Kelly once said when I interviewed him, he said, but everyone's out there creating their own situation.
Oh, totally. Yeah, he's right.
So it's maybe not so much about bands, it's just about everybody creating their situation. They might have a band, but there's something else. Yeah. Lots of hands and different pies.
I think I think that's probably been true all along. But I think what perhaps, like that big push from a record company these days is never going to go, doesn't seem to be wanting to be behind bands, and there's definitely no sort of long drawn out, development contracts.
Yep.
There's none of that's existing anymore, and that's where those bands came from, and that's why those bands played 6 nights a week.
So you're actually you're a proper musician now. You're on Instagram now. So you're an actual musician now.
I resisted.
Yeah,
for a long time.
I had a look today. September 2024 was your
man.
First.
And that was very, very much a very considered move. So much as there is a point where you kind of got to get involved at some level, because that's what's happening.
Yep.
And I spoke a lot to some people about it who are really involved in the way it's moving forward, and you've got to be involved at some level. You've got to have some reference point, So for all intent and purposes, I haven't found any problems with it yet. I mean, I was just a resistor. I was fuck Facebook and fuck all that, blah blah blah. I'm too old for all that, and and then you kind of go, yeah, maybe you're not, and things to say and things to do, and I'm certainly not someone who's going to be involved at any kind of personal level about that, but definitely, it's cool to be involved with a bunch of people like you, or all these other friends you have who are there, And if you can sort of curate it at a level where you're not just getting overwhelmed with kind of... I mean, how do you run it that works? Are you just gig life? Is that the way you do it? Or
Yep. I do have my own sort of private Instagram, but I don't use it. I just... The things that I want to follow... I follow a lot of cat videos because we've got 4 cats at home. And a couple of the things that I follow are like people getting hurt, coming off skateboards, and that kind of stuff. I love the misfortune of people getting hurt.
Okay, so I'm utterly hooked on justice being served. That's my favourite.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. Or karma. The karma ones. Yeah.
No, I love all that, but it's just, it's I mean, you register with other people, kind of what you're doing without being an asshole. And right. As they are too, I think good people are good people. They're not all of a sudden going to turn into some kind of klutz online.
So, as I mentioned, after the Oils final show, Adam went and played Lazy Bones and did his thing.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Do you remember? Was it kind of like a strong emotional sort of time? The ending of that. Did it get to a point where you've been on the road for so long? It'd been 9 months or whatever. Yeah. It was kind of nice to.
I felt like I heard Adam on the podcast that you'd done with him, and he I love the way he said, what do you mean you've fucking breaking up? I just got here. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like. If there's one thing I know for sure, mate, is nothing's going to do what you want it to do, especially as a session player. And, I reckon that I'm not going to opine. I just mean to say, I think they were really happy to. It was a long tour, and I just think they had, especially with Bones gone, I just think they'd maybe felt like it was and I'm very careful not to put words in anyone's mouth, but my impression was probably it was really obvious that they were probably all pretty happy to move on. I just no bad blood or anything. It was just that maybe it had done its course quite naturally, as bands do. I don't know, but definitely at the end of that run, I think everyone was just like, oh, crikey, that was a whole lot of time away. I mean, I could happily, if you're going to keep travelling around Europe and staying in lovely hotels and people are going to give you money. I mean, man, the first time I went to Europe with those guys, honestly, I'd never been to Paris, right? And, honestly, mate, we'd done a bunch of shows and whatever, and we ended up that we had a week off, right? And they had a hotel in Montmartre for us, and they said, okay, we're going to take a week off. You guys can do whatever you want to do. It's the middle of a Parisian heat wave. It's the middle of summer, right? Like it's 32 degrees every day. And I don't know what other people think about Paris, but I don't think, heat wave, you know. But seriously, mate, I was like, fuck, I'm paid for a week to stay in Paris by myself. You know, everyone else seemed to be a bit like, oh yeah, I've been here 1,000 times, just go to the pub and suck a few beers with the crew or whatever, and, you know, Bones and all that crew, they just seemed like they'd done it 1,000 times. I hadn't, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally jumping out of bed in the morning, opening the curtains and going, Paris, you know, like it was such a big vibe.
That's
and
cool, man.
And you sort of go, you know, so I said, I'd be out in the street every day, I'd jump in the metro and do everything, you know. And in real terms, I sort of think maybe whatever band, it'd be great to, you know, especially when it's, you know, a band that big that's always going to, you know, always going to do well in the rooms it wants to do well in, and there's money going to flow, and it's not going to be a drama. I think I could probably stay out there for the rest of my life, you know, but that's just not the way it's going to be, you know. So I'm pretty used to that idea. You know, when the Oils pulled up stumps, I think I had... you know, I had a couple of months just to sort of twiddle my thumbs, and I think I went back to work and, you know, my day job, and you know, I went through a bit of bad health and all that sort of stuff after that run, and nothing sort of to worry about. But I sort of, you know, by the time we came out of that, it was like, oh crikey, you know, here we are. It's late 2024 or something. And you're like going, oh, what do we, you know? And by which stage, you know, Chisel was rolling again, and you know, look, you know, for all money, mate, I'm the luckiest saxophone player I know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, those bands are so much fun to play with, and they're so well managed, and the people are so great, and the songs are so fantastic. You know, I mean, whether you're in, you know, jumping out of your bed and pulling the curtains back in Paris, or if you're in frickin' Armadale, it's actually the same.
That's
because
cool, man.
it's so much fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm very, very lucky, incredibly so, and have been for a lot of years. You know, so you know, or take a row of smoke shop for that. Yeah, you know, let's be honest.
Yeah. You know? So you said go back to your day job. What was your day job?
I was teaching a lot. I was teaching a heap. You know, the brass players. Fullback position, you know. I was lucky. I was teaching at as my son went through high school, I started teaching at a wonderful high school down south, with a great music department, and they had, you know, they were a private school. It was quite a bit, you know, wasn't wanting for money. It was a great situation to be in. And very supported, and in one of those situations where they were very open to the idea of me disappearing away to go and do, you know, I'm away with so-and-so for 3 months or whatever. They'd support me through that.
That's awesome.
Blessed, absolutely blessed job. And it was I gotta stop saying blessed too. What a wank. Can you cut that out? What a wanker of a thing
Blessed.
to say.
I'm blessed, you know.
I'm blessed, yeah.
You know, back in my day, you know.
Yeah. No. What was it? Back in those days.
Back in those days. I'm still blessed.
Yeah. What a fuckwit.
Yeah.
What a right royal fuckwit.
Yeah.
You know, so I was very, very lucky to have been in a situation where if that was my day job, they were very supportive of whoever I went and played with.
So you've, you know, I'm interested in the different sort of musical machines of, like, see, you know, you've done the Midnight Oil thing. You talked about the sort of the hotel stuff that, you know, and that kind of scene. You got, you know, you've been working with Chisel, but you know, when we talk about the Eagles is, you know, that's sort of top echelon stuff.
Yeah.
So when you worked with them, is this when they were here for Aussie tour, or what were you doing?
Yeah, they did a. I got involved with the Don Henley tour before that.
Oh, okay.
And played with. They brought over a fantastic saxophone player from Los Angeles. Again, through Jim Barnes. You know, they had a keyboard player in the band that had worked with Jimmy in LA. And he rang Jim and said, we're after a bunch of horn players. You got any ideas? Jim, being the magnanimous mofo that he is, threw my name in the hat, and it all went down the wire. It was great. They had this great saxophone player called Tom Evans, who's sort of played with everybody in Los Angeles, and he came out, and we put a horn section around him with Don Henley, which was just an absolute dream for me, because the band were just top shelf, top shelf American session musicians. And it's a great experience to stand there and see an American management work like it does, and crew work like it does, and stage and band and those fucking songs, man, Yeah. And then we were so lucky that then bounced into an Eagles tour. Yeah, and just a terrific band of session musicians behind them, and Don playing drums or not playing drums, So he had a great touring drummer called Scott Crago,
who's been with them forever.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And he's a really beautiful guy. He's fantastic to travel with. And we did a New Zealand Australian tour with them, which was a really fantastic experience. Again, songs, and there's not a lot of horns on their stuff, but you kind of shot out and just played these key things again.
Right.
And man, people just, those, you just sort of, it's always about, when you're touring, I reckon when you're touring with those bands, it's always about the radio songs, right? The big radio hits. And when you sort of look down their set list, you kind of like,
It's one of most of it, right?
Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, right.
And I was, I was very, very lucky. They asked me to go and do a run of shows with them overseas, but I couldn't do it because I had already been booked for an oils thing, and I really wanted to do the oils.
Yeah.
It was my first chance to go to... So that's 2019, that was. Okay. Actually, I just remembered. It was my first chance to go to Europe with Midnight Oil, and I went...
Doing that.
Fuck yeah, I want to do that, As well as obviously I wanted to do them both, but you never can, But they were something else. They were really special, and... it's that thing, it's like people say, oh, so-and-so's and fucking this and so-and-so's that and blah, blah, blah. And you can only really take people how they treat you. And, honestly, they were really cool. They were super cool people.
Yep.
And it has to be said, almost more so than anybody I've come across in my career, mate, when Don Henley walks into a room, like the air rarefies, you just go,
right.
that's that guy, it says, holy Jesus, he's the guy.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, again.
I don't think I've ever had that kind of moment. I don't think there's been anyone that, besides yourself today.
We're editing that out. God,
no, I can like when you said that about Don Henley, I can just imagine it.
Yeah.
And I can imagine the people that for me would do that if they walked into a room.
Yeah.
But just haven't had it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you sort of...
and it's strange because we're just fucking humans, right?
Well, that's right.
It's a real strange phenomenon.
Look, I remember as a kid, honestly, Stevie, I remember sitting on I used to go down and stay and work on my aunt and uncle's farm when I was a kid in a place called Drummond, which is out of Invercargill at the bottom of the South Island. And I remember sitting in a bedroom of, I'm bloody 9 years old or whatever, and I'm starting to play saxophone, and probably clarinet at the time, and I remember I remember listening to, I remember hearing Hotel California, like 1,000 times like you did, and it was the first time I ever heard that, that great sort of blue scale thing they do in the solo, and I remember just going, oh, man, like it just blew my fucking mind, Yep. And you sort of go back and you look at it and there's Joe Walsh, it's just like, oh, man, it's just, that stuff's heavy. I reckon that Los Angeles thing and the New York thing and whatever is just another world,
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was as I was getting to the, to ask about the Eagles, not trying to compare, like, who's better or whatever, but, you've got that oils machine, the Chisel machine, and the Eagles machine. So, is is the thing that makes it different maybe a bit of an aura of the people that are in the room? Do you think that's...
Well, I only even dipped my toe in with the Eagles once,
Yeah, okay.
so I never really spent any time with them. I think, though...
I suppose time would tell.
That's right. But I think like anything, I think Australian bands have their own identity, very much so. I think they do things a certain way. I mean, I think the Eagles, for what I know of them, they're in the nosebleed section of American music royalty. And I think, you get your bag tags with them, and it's got Irving Azoff written on the back of it. You're kind of going, holy Christ, these guys are really that bunch of dudes, which is very different to what we're used to, and what we're used to is so fantastic, so fucking amazing. It's a very, and they just keep going and going and going, But if you've got a raft of songs like that, why would you stop?
Why would you stop?
Exactly. Bloody hell, man, I love that. Have you heard? You've got The Long Run, that great their last album.
Yep.
Mate, that track on the last track on side B that David Sanborn plays on, that thing, Last Cafe, or the is it Last Cafe or the Lost Cafe? Anyway, and he just plays that fucking beautiful alto solo on the way out just to finish the album. The Lost Cafe. Sorry, I'm making so many mistakes.
No, you're right.
It's just like, man, Sanborn's on their fucking records.
Yeah,
right. Jesus. Excuse my language. God, I've got to stop. I hope no kids are listening to this. Sorry, kids, go to bed. They incredible band. And such a pleasure to have momentarily been in their orbit,
Yeah, that's cool, man.
For just a bunch of fucking hokey old session horn players, fantastic experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. What's the next 6 months got in store for you, mate?
Mate, I'll tell you, I am going to basically, we've just obviously moved into this place.
Yep.
So we're sorting that out. I'm literally looking down a year of trying to get my playing back together.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've got some questions here about how do you, do you still practice and what do you practice? And
okay.
So you finished, and then I'll
well, I sort of like I said last year, I had a bit of a health scare, and kind of barely limped out on the road with Chisel, without sort of having a lot of time on the horn. Did a lot of that on muscle memory, and I don't think that band, those guys are so beautifully supportive, and it was so kind to have me playing the way I was. Not that I was playing shit house. In the end of the day, a bit of a rough saxophone solo is not going to stop a Chisel show, but. I wasn't in super match fit form. Okay. And so this year's intention is to sit down and really get it back together.
Okay.
Only because I was away from the horn because I was just I had surgery and all sorts of malarkey.
Right.
So now with that fantastic tour done, I'm home. I'm going to spend a year in my office upstairs. At least working in her office, and I'll sit in the one upstairs and just play and play and play. And I've just, you sort of have that revelation about just how not happening I feel right now,
Yeah, right.
I just got to really get my shit together and do some serious kind of hours a day of just practice. I mean, there's a couple of bits and pieces on, like I did a great thing with Kerry Jacobson a couple of weeks ago,
Yep. The Filthy Animals?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
What a dude, man.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Serious.
Yeah.
And Paul DeMarco.
Yeah.
And Dave Leslie, a great band.
Massive.
So much fun, and so did that. And there's a couple of little gigs dotted through the next few weeks, but mate, honestly, I'm blessed by the fact that we've sort of sold a place, and there's a bit of money already. We just take some time out,
sure,
and I can just sort of sit down and slowly pull it apart, and
rebuild
sort of
yourself,
get it back together. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I feel, those tours are fantastic, but sometimes because you never really get to practice that much when you're away, I always come off the road feeling like about the only thing I can do is play 4 Cold Chisel songs. I'm not really.
I understand what you're
I'm
saying.
not really sort of. I don't feel like I'm playing great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I can't sit in a hotel room and play saxophone because someone's going to throw a Molotov cocktail through your door. Go to the gig. It's always. You're sort of kind of rushing in and out and. You just become a really functional kind of transactional player. Get the horn out, warm up, walk on stage, play the thing, horn away, get in a van and drive away. And I just want to make sure that when I sort of start getting out again, I'm burning a bit more.
On.
Yeah,
You're on.
But a month of it already, I'm starting to feel a bit better. I felt like a pile of shit yesterday. I felt okay today, so I was starting to,
Yeah,
get through it.
Well, you'll have ebbs and flows for sure.
Oh, mate. Well, that's always the way, mate. So just sit there and smash through it again. Back to the old.
Yeah, gotcha.
Off we go.
So, so my question specifically.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. So this is what I've got here. So, do you have a mark you want to reach? This is regarding to your practice and your playing.
Yeah.
Is there a mark in your mind, like a benchmark of where you want to get to in your playing? And is it is it technique? Is it tone? Is it to be able to listen better? Or is it to have sort of chops for soloing? Because, or is it just always a progressive thing? Or, what it sort of sounds like at the moment is you're going to be trying to, it's not maintenance, you're going to rebuild yourself.
I feel like that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I think it's always going to be technique. It's always going to be wanting to be a better soloist.
Yep.
I think. And I listen pretty well. Like I listen to a lot of stuff, and still do always. Always find a lot of inspiration, some killer players. But yeah, so far as that's concerned, I don't know what the benchmark would be. I just want to always be getting better, I think. And right now, I'm sort of feeling a bit undergunned.
Yep.
And it's those guys that are knocking around town, who are playing 1,000 gigs a week with all these different bands. The skill set that comes out of that, that always ready to play, that always, that's match fit. I really dig that. Like I dig that those guys, and I haven't really done that for a lot of years. I really think I'd like to be back on my toes again, and and just sort of feeling like I can play with anybody,
yep,
and do anything, as opposed to kind of. Just sort of feeling like you're sort of good at one particular skill set,
Gotcha.
And definitely soloing, man. I'm just a thrasher right now. I feel like just a honker, and I never wanted to be that.
You're right.
Yeah. So with a bit of luck, we'll turn that around.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I've got some, there's some real players you hear that just. Around town even that blow your mind, and you sort of go, oh man, that dude's killing,
I want to get there.
Yeah, yeah, or just at least, stand back and dig it and know that it's not an impossibility, So yeah, that's the intention.
Yeah.
But the the absolute, how's the luck I've got, man, to be able to sit at home for a year and just kind of feel like I'm pulling my health back into shape and my playing, like it's just what an absolute gift,
Yeah, you've earned it, man.
But it's like you always see. I'm always really blown out by like guys like Ian Moss. You never see him without a guitar around his neck.
Yep.
And he's got one of those axes that he can play it in a car, he can play it in the hotel, and he does. He played in a hotel room, and he just plays it constantly. Unfortunately, the old saxophone, you just
can't do it.
Kind of can't do that.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you were talking about when you're on the road, you can't. A drummer can pull up a pad, bass player can turn the amp off. Singer can sing into a pillow or whatever. But yeah,
and that's that's a real joy, you know. Like, and then you can hear it every time he comes out. He's got more to say,
Right.
You know, like he's frightening at so many levels. But he, you know, he's, you know, I look at that and I'm like, oh shit, you know, I'd love to just be able to walk all day around, you know, be that guy that just sort of, you know, go to the shops, you know.
Yeah.
I'll have a pack of cigarettes, thanks.
Yeah. You know, there's probably is areas around here where you could do that. You could do that and you could pull it off.
Do you remember the eastern suburbs? There always used to be that guy down in Clow Valley, you know. Dude used to stand on the headlands there. He just played all day, you know.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was around for years. I mean, probably a while back now, but he just used to play out to the sea, you know.
Oh, wow.
He'd stand there and just play and play. Every time I'd go down and have a couple of beers with a mate of mine, we always used to go down to the bolo there. You'd always hear this guy playing saxophone. And it was like, dude, you know, if you do that for hours and hours and hours and hours a day, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be a better musician. So, yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, this has been cool, man. I'm stoked we got to sit down and have a chat.
Oh, Stevie, you're a legend. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Oh, I mean, yeah, we have.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me.
No
That's fantastic. Steve?
Andy?
Legend.
Thank you very much, my man.
Thank you so much, my man.
All right.
Beautiful. What a good hang.
Awesome.